Tonight's Dharma talk and meditation. Anyone here for the first time? Welcome again. No worries. All right, so kind reminder to silence your phone so you can be fully present for the talk and the meditation. We have a few announcements before we start. We invite you to join us for our weekly Tuesdays events with Medicine Buddha practice at 6 p.m. and our public talk at 7 p.m. Next week for our Tuesday evening talk, special guest Glenn Moulin, Lama Glenn Moulin, world-renowned Tibetologist, author, and speaker and teacher, will speak on the Dalai Lama's Enlightenment Made Easy for Modern Times, and is followed by a book signing. Lama Glenn is a dear and close friend of the monastery, and we are looking forward to hosting him. How exciting. I hope everyone can make it. Wednesdays evening at 7 p.m., our venerable monks will conduct evening prayers for His Holiness the Dalai Lama's long life and other teachers. On Thursdays at 4:30 p.m., our venerable monks will conduct the protector pujas for smooth journeys, success of interviews, medical treatments, new businesses, and other needs. Our popular 5-class foundation series continues on February 14 with shamatha meditation, alleviating stress and cultivating inner balance. This retreat explains how to engage in shamatha, the meditation for calming the mind and attaining clarity, focus, and attention, and can be taken independent of the series. This series is a prerequisite for the intermediate series and other retreats. On Wednesdays, February 18 at 9 a.m., we celebrate Losar, the Tibetan New Year. The venerable monks will lead a traditional puja with chanting for auspicious prayers and offer traditional Losar servings of sweet rice and tea. So as a reminder, please do not park on the grass. Not tonight, there's plenty of parking, but on Sunday. And I believe this Sunday we also have chai. Just to throw that in there. Okay, so all this information can be found online, and if you are interested into becoming a member, check out, you can become a member, you can register online. Applications are in the library. And kind reminder, there's a donation box near the entrance of this room if you feel like practicing generosity. This will help us to continue to offer programs and services like this to our Atlanta community and to those around the world. Now please stand as we invite Venerable Geshe Phende to come in for tonight's evening talk. Thank you and enjoy.
Okay, now first we're going to recite the mantra of the Heart Sutra. And during this recitation, the mantra, make sure all of you meditate on emptiness. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhisoha 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 Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhisoha. Now next is the four imaginables. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find a joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find a joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find a joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachments and hatred. Now next is the mandala offerings. Hoy soy shipi ki joy shi me to tama ri raba lin shi nye de Sanje Shinto Me Aite Pi Wa Ye dai shi la chöya pa sho idam guru ratna mendala kamniyataya mi. So today the teaching is the same text, the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. We finished last class the first stanza. I think that today is the second stanza. So before I start the teaching, first, the composer, the master who wrote this text, his name is called Geshe Togme Zangpo. So the Geshe Togme Zangpo is around like a late 13th century. It's 1295. Here they write 97, right? I think it's 95. So the 1295 he born in Tibet. So it's the one of the really the great master. It's called the Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattva, which means the person who lives with great compassion, to entire sentient beings for every day. And it's kind of that nature, innate natural, they have that compassion to all beings. And upon there, where's the bodhicitta, it's the awakening mind. So they remain with that kind of realization, the person, that we call Geshe, which means bodhisattvas. So himself, not only like a high, great practitioner, he's also very, very scholar, wrote number of texts, more than hundreds of the texts he wrote it. And he's the one of the famous, the master on specific on bodhicitta, compassion. He lives with this kind of mind. So remain solitary retreats for more than 2 decades, just solitary remained retreats, very serious, great practitioners. So he, among the hundreds of texts, one of very popular and famous the text is this, they call 37 practices of Bodhisattvas, which is very popular in Tibetan. The masters, I think all the traditions of the Tibetans, the masters been taking these teachings and study and meditation on specific these teachings. So this is kind of one of the very, very important texts. So usually in the Buddhist tradition, when we study the texts, there are many different ways. One, of course, the most important thing is have to understand oneself. In order to put it into the practice, you have to understand perfectly. In order to understand that Buddha Dharma, first you need to hear, you need to listen, you need to read, you need to investigate, right, so forth. But not only that, also we call the oral transmission blessings. So that's oral transmission blessings means from Buddha to all the way to his students, right? They're just giving back to the student to student. So that's we call unbroken, lineage masters. Blessings are also important. So that is why the, coming here to listening is not only to learning these things, it's also receiving, these lineage masters' blessing, specific on these teachings. So I receive these teachings from few teachers. One of the main teachers is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So it's kind of the having these blessing from them and share that blessing towards other. It's myself. It's very fortunate. And as a practitioner, it's also to receiving the blessings also helps for future to experience on each of these realization when they, who taught in these texts. That's why as a Buddhist tradition, we always, taking these teachings, always we try to get all completely, so that's also important. So that's why here today, these teachings, I think it may take few months to completely finished, depend on how much detail I go. So sometime I will see, how much detail I can explain these things. Sometimes it takes too long. People feel boring. Then they're slowly skipping. Then they're not getting the completely. So I have to go much faster way then. So that's depend on you guys. Okay, so here today the second stanza. The first stanza we finished last Tuesday. We start this text. So the first stanza is the homage verse. We finished that one. So second stanza. Phende chungne zobe sangye nam tamche tuble chungte teyani. Ti laglen she la ra lepe Geshe namje laglen she barchas. Perfect Buddhas, source of all well-being and happiness, arise from accomplishing the excellent teachings, and this depends on knowing the practices. So I will explain the practices of bodhisattvas. So this stanza is kind of the stanza of promising, to writing, to compose this text. So that traditionally, whenever they wrote a text, the first line, they always homage or to the Buddha or gurus or deities, anything, special objects. Then second line, they always started to promising to compose the text. One of the reason is when you promise to do this, that helps to you to finish, to completely finish what your wish is. When you promise, it helps to achievement accomplished, your success finish your text. Second is it explaining you, why he's going to compose this text, why he composed the text. So here, perfect Buddhas, source of all well-beings and happiness. So enlightened beings, when we say Buddha, enlightened beings, right, is the source of well-beings, source of happiness. So what that means when we talk about Buddha or enlightened beings, it's not always think about historical Buddha, like Buddha Shakyamuni, right? Being Siddhartha, born in India, and go to the practice and finally become a Buddha. That's the historical Buddha. General Buddha or enlightened beings, which means refers mental quality. It comes with a mental quality. The person, the being who reach certain type of the mental qualities, and those person is called Buddha, enlightened beings. So here, what is the main mental qualities? A Tibetan word in Buddha, Tibetan we call Sangye. There's a two word, right? Sangye is the Buddha. Sang means free from all the defilements, free from all the ignorance, free from all the obstacles. That's called Sang, right? Ge means full of knowledge, achieved, full of wisdom, full of knowledge. That's called Ge, right? So Sangye means the being who is free from all the defilements, afflictive, cognitive obscurations, who are free from all the ignorance, who are full of knowledge, who achieved, full of wisdom, full of knowledge. That kind of beings is called enlightened beings, right? Buddha, which means that. So we always think Buddha doesn't mean only this Prince Siddhartha. This is the one of the Buddha amongst countless of enlightened beings. One of the historical Buddha is the Buddha Shakyamuni, right? But general enlightened being, Buddha means the being who has these inner qualities. So these beings are why it's called source of all well-beings and happiness. Why the enlightened beings are the source of happiness, source of well-beings. Because enlightened beings are the one who teach us, right? Who teach us how to achieve happiness, how to overcome your suffering. Enlightened beings, the Buddhas, are the who explaining us the suffering which we do not want it, where they're coming from. What are the causes of that? How should we eliminate them? The happiness which we always wanted, explaining what is that happiness, how should we achieve all this information. First, we are receiving from Buddhas, right? Then second thing is, well-beings. Be kind. So how should we, learn ourselves to be kind person, right? The kindness comes from your love, your compassion to entire beings. So these love and compassion, how should we achieve it? So all this instruction we learn from Buddhas. So that is why as a Buddhist, when we relying on Buddha as a not like Buddha means some miracle or blessing or the power or who can, helps you to clean all your negative karmas or who can bless you to achieve all your happiness. It's not like that. That's not the Buddhist belief. Buddhists, when we rely on Buddha as a teacher, right? As a teacher. So that's first very, very important. Buddhists believe happiness and suffering, it's absolutely self-responsibility. You have to achieve happiness. You have to make yourself happy. You have to overcome your own sufferings. It's absolutely self-responsibility. But in order to do that, first we need to learn how to do it, right? So that is why we rely on Buddha as a teacher, where we learn this. The source of the knowledge of happiness, the source of knowledge of kindness. Be kind, we're learning from the Buddha. Right? All this knowledge comes from Buddha. That is why we rely on Buddha as a teacher. Therefore here, perfect Buddhas are the source of all well-being and happiness. So when we read this line, what is showing? It's also showing us it's absolutely self-responsibility. So relying on Buddha means you are relying on the teachers, right? Relying on teacher, what that means? That means you are student, learn, right? We are relying on teacher is to learn the education, learn the knowledge, learn the message. So that's showing as a Buddha, as a Buddhist or follower of the Buddha, or from the Buddhist perspective, who really wants to live happy, if you really want to achieve true happiness, then you rely on Buddha as a teacher. Means learn. You should study first. You should learn the Dharma. You should study the Dharma. Then you know how to achieve happiness, how to overcome suffering. After you know that, then you put it into the practice. Apply those teachings called the Dharma. What you learn is not just academic as the knowledge. What you learn, you should apply, implement it. Then that will help you to take to your ultimate destination, right? Ultimate happiness. That's why the perfect Buddha's source of all well-beings and happiness arise. That perfect Buddha, where they arises, where they're coming from, arise from accomplishing the excellent teachings. So Buddhas are arising from the Dharma. Dharma means doctrines, teachings. So Buddha doesn't mean he or she been Buddha from beginningless. That doesn't mean that, right? It's exactly same like us. For instance, Buddha Shakyamuni, right, himself. First, as ordinary beings, Prince Siddhartha, who learning all kinds of things, finally studied the Dharma, put it into the practice himself. Through that, he achieved enlightenment, Buddhahood, right? So exactly same, perfect Buddhas, all the Buddhas are arising from accomplishing the excellent teachings, right? So to put it into the practice, the accomplishing the excellent Buddha's teachings, doctrines. Doctrines means the realization, which are renunciation, compassion, love, bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness, right? 6 parameters. There are variety, aspect of the knowledge, realizations. These are the one, right, helps you to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. So all of those enlightened beings, the Buddhas, are arising from excellent teachings, those doctrines, those realizations. And this depends on knowing the practices. So I will explain the practice of bodhisattvas. One of the texts, Arya Chandakirti, right, which is one of the famous Buddhist scholar, Madhyamika scholars, the philosopher. According to the text, engaging to the middle way, It's a really good text. It's really difficult to understand, but it is one of the best philosophy. When you read it, when you really, even one stanzas, when you read it, how deep they're explaining those philosophies, specific middle way school's philosophy, the Madhyamika school's philosophy. So according to that text, it's called the engaging to the middle way. So he says also similar, Sarvakayana and Sarvakas and Patikas Buddhas are arise from Sarvaka and Patikas, which means the Theravada's practitioners, what you call Arya beings, right? Arya and Arhat beings. So those beings arise from enlightened beings, Buddhas. Buddhas or enlightened beings are arising from bodhisattvas, right? Become a Buddha, first you have to be bodhisattva, right? Then after you become a Buddha. So Buddhas arise from bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas arise from compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness. That's how he says that. So it's showing all of these practitioner beings arise from Buddha's teaching, the doctrines, the practice arise from there. So that means in order to achieve any, ultimate happiness, we need to cultivate, or we need to achieve each of these realization, which call dharma, right? Doctrines, teachings. So teaching is not just only texts, here teachings, what that mean? Teachings, which means the realizations. These texts, what they're explaining, what the subjects in that text, that's the teachings. That's called the doctrines. That's called the dharma. So all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas arise from the dharma, right? So dharma, you need to achieve it. So that's why he says here, and this depends on knowing the practice. And this dharma, in order to achieve the dharma, you need to first understanding, knowing the practice. Without knowing, how can you put it into the practice? It's impossible, right? For instance, in order to have compassion, for instance, without knowing compassion, how can you achieve the compassion? It's impossible, right? So that's why, and this depends on knowing the practice. Means all of these enlightened beings to become a Buddha, to achieve any of them, it comes from dharma, right? Teaching. But that teaching depends on first understand, knowing the teaching. Without knowing the Buddha's teaching, you will not going to achieve any of these realizations. So sometimes, even the Buddhist communities, we believe certain things by culture. So believing things, what we believing is there's some strange, I'm not sure it's called strange, or certain type of the belief which is very difficult to understand. Sometimes we believe, I'll just recite the prayer, right? Repeating any types of the deity's mantra. Just repeating that mantra, and we believe we will be born into next life in that pure realms. There's one of the very popular called Amitabha Buddha, right? And also one popular in Tibetan, Pure Land. There are many different types of Pure Land practice around there. There's one popular in Tibetan called Akshobhya. Buddha Akshobhya is also very popular Pure Land practice. Amitabha is, I think, general everywhere. Chinese tradition, Vietnamese tradition, Korean or Tibetans, everywhere, they have this. But sometimes they misunderstanding, which means their thinking is just repeating the name of that Buddha and think, oh, I will go to born into that pure realms. That's how some people just repeating alone the mantra, that's all, right? But when you're really understanding the Buddha Dharma, first we should understand why we not born into pure realms, right? Why we born into lower realms and samsara? It's not somebody punished us, right? It's not about that. Buddhists not believing this. Buddhists believe what the Buddha says, everything is law of causality, cause and effect relationship. If causes is there, result doesn't matter. Whatever you try to stop, you cannot stop it. Causes is there, result definitely comes, right? That relationship is called the law of causality. That relationship is not created by somebody else. It's not created. It's how it is. It's called the nature. So we learn how the nature is, that nobody can stop it. That's how it's called, it's nature. We learn from the nature, then we apply the practice. So causes of those lower realm is our bad karmas, negative karmas, right? Negative karma, which means negative actions. Our negative actions come from our negative mind, negative thoughts, negative emotions. So showing negative thoughts, emotions are the one which are the causes of our suffering. First, when Buddha teach, after he became a Buddha, right, 49 days completely silent, didn't teach. Then after first through 5 disciple, the qualified disciple, right, when they comes, then first message what he shares Four Noble Truth. What does that mean? It's very simple. If causes is bad, result is bad. If causes is good, result is good. That's he's saying. Law of causality, that philosophy. Truth of suffering, result is bad because truth of origin of suffering, causes is bad, right? Truth of cessation of suffering, happiness, because truth path coming from there. So that's fundamental Buddhist concept. So to born into whatever realms, higher realms, who's obstructing us? Our own mental afflictions, our own negative karma. If you don't change them, just few conditions, we just recite things alone, of course, how can it work? It contradicts with the Buddha's teaching sometimes. So that's how the Buddhist way of achieving happiness, overcome suffering, means what he teaches us, the doctrines, the realization, the dharma, we should learn, understand, then put it into the practice. Practice means to achieve. Like for instance, we learn the compassion, then we practice the compassion, then we achieve the compassion, and that compassion, what they're going to do? That compassion will help you to overcome your anger, your hatred, your selfish mind. When your anger, hatred, selfish, these destructive emotions declining, right, overcome, many your bad behavior, your action will stop, right? That's how we liberate. That's how the happiness is. So therefore, sometimes we completely ignore this part of sight. We choose the easy part. Just recite some prayer, offering something, do some prostration. We think, oh, that's the only way to achieve enlightenment. Of course, these are one part. One causes, like to grow the apple tree, Water alone is not enough. You have to have seed, you have to have moisture, you have to have soil, you have to have heat, water, all kind of causes condition. You just take only one condition, small one, easiest one, just one part of the water, and you just put this water only. Of course, how can you grow the apple, right? You need the main causes, seed. So similarly, main causes of happiness is the practicing the Dharma, achievement, realization. That's the main causes. Then condition, cooperated conditions, like water and moisture, which are the merits, reciting prayer, prostration, offering. These are the condition alone, right? So that's why here, because of lack of understanding the Dharma, Buddha's teaching means the how to achieve true happiness. Lack of understanding on this, we do not know how to do the practice properly. So not knowing the practice properly, then we're not going to achieve what we need to be achieved it, right? That's why here Geshe Togme Zangpo says, and this depends on knowing the practice. All of this depend on understanding, knowing the Buddha's teaching, Buddha Dharma. So therefore, I will explain the practices of Bodhisattva. That's why he will going to be explained. He is going to be explain the practices of Bodhisattva, right? As how should become a Bodhisattva, how should achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. He will going to be explain that, right? That's the second stanza called the promising to compose the text. So then next text, this is the one now first started. Now actual text is started here. When we say 37 practices of Bodhisattva, the first practice here, Techo Tuchen Nyeka Toptuitir, Tashin Kowe Tsole Techichir, Ninda Tsendo Yewa Meperni, Nyesam Gompa Geshe Lakleyins. Having gained this rare ship of freedom and fortune, here, think, hearing right, think and meditate, unwaveringly night and day. In order to free yourself and others from the oceans of cyclical existence, this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So, having gained this rare ship of freedom and fortune, so this stanza, actually what it's talking about is called, according to the Lam Rim, we call precious human life, right? Precious human life. Exactly what in Buddhist term we call leisure and opportunity, human life. That's called precious. Leisure and opportunities. So leisure, which means being a humans, we are free from non-leisures, means we are free from unfortunate lives. For instance, if we born into animal realms, right, then of course in that life we cannot achieve compassion, love, bodhicitta. We cannot achieve wisdom of emptiness. We are not capable to study the philosophy, meditation, many things, right, as born as animals. So it's called unfortunate life. So human leisure means we are free from those unfortunate. As a human beings, we have human intelligence. Human intelligence, if we use it, this human intelligence has power, potential to investigate, to study the philosophy, to analyze, and to meditate, right? Everything's we can do. This brain has that potential. So that's called, he is saying freedom and fortune, right? Freedom. Freedom means freedom from non-leisure, unfortunate life. Usually they have 8 different non-leisures, born into animal realms or hungry ghosts and hell realms, and even born as a human, as a human beings, sometime, you're born as a being whose brain is damaged, so cannot able to memorize, cannot able to think, cannot able to function well, right? These are also unfortunate. As human beings, but not encounter with the Dharma, means not encounter with the Dharma, then we use all our brain is just for materialistic. So we use everything is for temporary, happiness, that's all. That's the majority of human beings today. It's like that. They're utilizing the human intelligence is just for this life benefit, right? Only for materialistic, becoming famous, becoming rich, and becoming powerful. That's the purpose of the life, majority. So, of course, there's no interest to deal with anger, attachment, all kinds of things, not big deal for them, right? So these are also, even they have this intelligence, but lack of understanding the Dharma, they cannot able to utilize. So we are free from these unfortunate things. That's called freedom. Then fortunate, there actually, if you go detail, there are 10, fortunates things are there. 5 from yourself, 5 from the other sides. But don't need to go too detailed, then not going to finish. So here mainly you are free from unfavorable condition, freedom. And you are fortunate, having favorable condition. That's called the fortunate. So in order to practice the Dharma, if there are too much obstacle, too much unfavorable condition, they will obstruct you. You cannot able to practice. So freedom from unfavorable condition. Fortunate means you have, what you call favorable condition, which is your mind is function properly, you're engaging with the Dharma. Dharma is still available here. Buddha's teachings are available. You are surrounded with people who are kind, the teachers are available. There are many kind of 10, for the I mentioned earlier, 10 from your side. As a human beings, right? One thing, 10 from one side is as a human being. Born into the place which has a Dharma, called the right place. Then your faculty, all your faculties are function well, not damaged faculty, right? Then you never committed like extreme negative karmas, killing and kind of things, right? Then you have certain type of faith of connection to the Dharma. So these are the 5 favorable conditions from the one side. Then 5 from the other side. Maybe no need to go. I'm taking too much time. So now this understanding this precious human life is like a boat. So having gained this rare ship, this is like a ship, right? Your precious human life is the ship. So across the river, the lake, you depend on the ship, right? You sit in the ship boat, and that boat and ship take you, right, to cross the river, to cross the lakes. Similarly, samsara is like oceans, right? Samsara means suffering of cycle existence, this mundane life. Samsara is like an ocean. So to cross the samsara, to free from samsara, this precious human life you have is like a boat, capable to take you to overcome all your struggle, pain and suffering living in samsara. We're showing what that means. That means this life you have right now is very, very precious, very, very important, and very difficult, right? So if you combine with the Lam Rim teaching and these two, then in the Lam Rim, understanding precious human life, and the next, it's very important, and the next, it's very difficult. Like similarly, like here, rare sheep. He's saying, having gained this rare sheep. This rare sheep means this precious human life is very difficult to achieve. This life we got it, but according to the Buddhists, next life, it's very difficult. Reason is, our life is based on our karma, right? Precious human life, one of the main karma is virtuous karma. Virtuous karmas are the higher rebirths, causes of higher rebirths. Non-virtuous karmas are the causes of lower rebirths. Imagine yourself day-to-day life. Mostly we committed non-virtuous karmas, most of time. Right? Most of time we act non-virtuous. So in this present life, accumulating good karma, bad karma, of course, bad karma is more than good karma. Reason is, negative emotions, we don't need to meditate. We are expert on negative emotion. It comes always, every time. Positive minds, love, compassion, patience, tolerance, very difficult. It's not easy. Good karma and bad karma based on good mind and the bad minds, right? So if you live with the most of time negative mind, then of course we accumulate negative karmas more. That's simple. So through that reason, born into higher rebirths, more difficult. That's why I call it's a rare sheep, right? Human life is the example like a ship and a boat. So it's it's a very rare, not easy, but it is very important. It's called freedom and fortune. Freedom and fortune, showing the life you have is very important. Why it's called very important? Because the life which we have right now, if we really use it properly, our human intelligence has a power, potential to cut all your destructive emotion, all your negative emotion, we can eliminate all of them in this life. If you try, that kind of power we have. That's called, this precious life is so important. It can do so much things. Example, use Buddha Shakyamuni, right? He was till 29, age of 29, remained as a royal family, as a prince, right? Finally understanding the Dharma, then who utilizing this precious human life, this human intelligence worthwhile, he focused instead of only material, he focused to how to cut your inner mental affliction, the causes of all your sufferings, which are your mental afflictions, right? Negative emotions. He utilized that. Finally, he completely eliminated them. That's how he achieved enlightenment, Buddhahood. Exactly that, potential which we have. So showing this life is like a boat who can able to help you to cross all the samsara. You can able to cross that. You can able to eliminate them. Like a boat take you to the other side of the oceans. Similarly, this life has the potential to take you to the other side of the samsara, which is nirvana, right? Freedom of samsara, right? Liberation. So that this precious human life is have like that kind of potential. So we should understanding that. Then here think, meditate unwaveringly night and day in order to free yourself and others from the oceans of cycle existence. So when you have this kind of life you have, if you use this precious life, it's just for survive. That's what we're doing, right? Morning you wake up to go to bed, you look yourself. What you utilizing your life is for what? We go to work, we make a money, then this money to build a house, buy the car, food, and dress, and that's all. That's what we're doing, right? That same thing. We've been born till today, we're doing same thing. And the one day, of course, we will die, right? Then finish. That's how we finish now, one day. So here it is saying, this life can do much more than that. Why are you using like this? That kind of small thing, just surviving, taking care of your family, blah, blah. Even little bird can do these things, right? These little birds has really very tiny brain compared with us. We are 1,000 times bigger than that. But exactly the same, those birds, what they're doing. They make a nest to protect your children, feed them, grow them, then fly. Next time another children, take care, feed them. That's how you do, right? The human being is, few children, then after even your children finish, you cannot make the children, but you're becoming grandpa, grandma. Same, they take care of this till your death. Never end it. This family samsara, it's very heavy chain, very heavy chain, very difficult to get rid of this, kind of chain of samsara. Why? Why it is difficult? Because of human attachments. Your attachment is the one put you there. So through understanding on this thing, then he say, hear the dharma. Listen to dharma. What you hear, not just, I hear today, then tomorrow, nothing, come back again to hear only. Just listening is not enough. What you listen, what you hear, you should think, investigate, thinking, the dharma, what they teach, what the Buddha taught us, to free from samsara. So what they taught, not just listen, think, investigate, analyze. Then after, when you understand, after investigate, when you have understand something, when you build the convince, then meditate, be familiarized, right? First, hear about compassion, renunciation. Then next, think again and again. What does that mean? Why it is? How should we do? What is the benefit? Did they have really logic behind there? Or what is the reason? Thinking. Think, investigate, research more, helps you to build. You believe, you convince. Because these are really true, right? If these are not truth, then when you think more, eventually it will fail. You know what is the reality. But these teachings are the real, it's the true. That's how all those enlightened beings achieved it. So when you think more, investigate more, your belief, your conviction on these things becomes stronger. When you got that, then you put it into meditate, be familiarized. Compassion, familiarize, meditate, then you can feel compassion. If you don't meditate, You never feel compassion. You know, yes, I know compassion. Knowing compassion doesn't mean I can experience compassion. Experiencing is only through meditation. Be familiarized. That's why hear the Dharma. Think, meditate unwaveringly night and day. Right? Meditate always, every time. Through that, in order to free yourself and others from oceans of cycle existence, through this process, meditation helps oneself free from oceans of cycle existence, samsara. Freedom from samsara doesn't mean I born into something different realms. That doesn't mean that. Freedom from samsara, which means you are free from your attachments, your greed, your arrogance, your anger, your destructive emotions. Right? These are the ones who tied you, bind you in samsara, means complicated life, mundane life. It's nobody out there. It's your destructive emotion tied you, right? So through hearing how to get rid of this destructive emotion, thinking, investigating, then meditate. Through this process, you can eventually eliminate your mental afflictions, right? So when you eliminate your mental afflictions, you are free yourself from samsara. No more into samsara, right? Freedom. Yourself, then you can also guide, teach to other beings, right? So the bodhisattvas are the different than our Theravadas practitioners. Bodhisattva is not only looking themselves, they're always doing for something else, for somebody. That's why when they free, they also saving to others, teach them, guide them, how they achieved. For instance, in Geshe Togme Zangpo, the editor or composer himself free. So what he did, he teach us how to free oneself from them, right? He give us this instruction. That's what I call, in order to free yourself and others from the oceans of cycle existence, samsara. This is the practice of bodhisattvas, right? So this is one first kind of the practitioner to encourage yourself. You know, most of the time we're wasting our life. Really, we can do much higher things, but we do only little things. Our happiness is happiness of having money, happiness of having good job, happiness of having power, happiness of having material. That's all. That's the only we know. How, unfortunate it. Because our understanding of happiness is like that. But this is actually from the Buddhist perspective. This is not true happiness, right? This is the part of suffering of change. When Buddha first introduced Four Noble Truths, he introduced suffering. When he introduced suffering, suffering of change. Suffering of change is that today we think is the happiness. That's kind of ignorance which we have. And that ignorance pull us into samsara, tied us into samsara. Because we think this is the real happiness. But actually it is not. But I always reminding you, when you are single, you're looking somebody else, don't find them, you suffer, right? Suffering of not having boyfriend or girlfriends, or wife or husband, or children. Then you found it, what? Now you're happy, at the moment happy, but that's not going to remain as a happiness. It will shift it now. Now, suffering of having wife, having husband, having children, right? Having boyfriend, girlfriend. It's absolutely that way. You go this way, you suffer, you're thinking, I don't have them, that's why I suffer. You go there, you got it. Now you suffer because of having them, right? That's how it is. Why this mistake? Why it is come? Because we don't know this is suffering. We think this is the perfect life. That's how we think. So these are called wrong consciousness. So here, that's why we use all this human intelligent brain. We utilize for this kind of happiness, this material happiness. Then ended up, everybody suffer, right? Everybody's suffering. Even rich people suffering, poor people, of course, powerful people are suffering, everybody's suffering, right? So knowing these, we have to do something more things. This precious human life is very rare. It's one time right now. And I will going to lose soon, right? Soon I will going to lose this. So I should use properly, worthwhile. First, how can I use it? First, I should learn what is real happiness, what is real suffering, where they're coming from. I learn that. That's called learning Dharma. Learning Buddha's teaching, learning Sutra, that doesn't mean, sometimes people have that kind of image. Learning Buddha's teaching means certain type of the sutra. And they're just learning how to read, how to pronounce. This is not big deal. It's not really big deal. Right? Learning Dharma, which means learning really what is the suffering. And all different types of suffering Buddha taught us. In modern education, they are not talking about these things, right? I'm not sure, actually, I'm not that fully educated modern. I grew up in the monastery. But I don't think modern education will teach you money is the suffering, power is the suffering. I don't think, right? They talk about this is the you need it. You have to have this. You have to have this. So that's how it is. So we don't find in today even, high education in material. So these are we found from this great master, Buddha Shakyamuni, his teachings. That's we learn what is suffering, where they're coming from, how to get rid of them. Hearing this teaching, listen first, again and again and again, right? Hear. What you hear, you're not believing. You not just accept it. Yourself research, investigate, think. Again, thinking is very, very important. When you investigate, you're understanding Dharma very differently. Believing Buddha's teaching, through understanding the believing just blind faith, huge differences. Believe through the blind faith, not that much moved your heart. It's very surface. Believing through understanding yourself, research, think, through understanding yourself, that's very differences. So, second, thinking, investigate. Then when you got it, understanding, fully convinced, right, convicted on this dharma, then meditate, practice, right? And that meditation, what they're going to do, it changes you. Before, you have so much attached to this material. You have so much fear. Oh, if I do not have them, I will be suffer. You fear, right? If I do not have certain type of the car, maybe people think I'm stupid or blah, blah, blah. You have fear of not having this, not having that, not having that. Living in the social, what do you call in this social life, right? Now when you're hearing this again, it's completely different idea. You learn, you investigate yourself, you're full convinced on that, convicted. That's why you meditate. Now, not that much interest to this material, not that much attached. Your focus is to get rid of my negative emotion, my mental affliction. If I'm free from my attachment to this material life, many of my mental issue, the problem, really change. Right? You know, when I live in the monastery, many things I don't know, because I live in very young age to, decades and decades. After first, when I came to the reality world, I was in South Africa, right, for a few years. Then here, then I become much closer with the lay life. Before that time, even I'm not that much close with my parents. I see them once or 2-3 years, just briefly, that's all. All my friends or whoever is monks. Then when you come to the reality world, there are many things there. The one very interesting, for me, interest means some kind of, I couldn't understand why this is. There are some people saying, if you wear a certain type of shirt, you have to wear a certain type of the pants. If you wear that pants, you have to have certain type of shoes, certain types of the bag. As if they don't have this thing, they feel there's something missing. I said, who's going to punish? Nobody punish you. You make your own rule this. And you put your own life into this difficult. Now, not having that kind of shoes, not having that kind of shirt, you embarrassing, you fear, all this kind of, I said, what is going on this? So ended up I realizing this is the attachments for their appearance in the living in the social. Many people around there, they make their own rule and they just stay with that rule. Nobody force them. They stay with this. And living in this rule, why they have to go into this complicated? Why not use it free? Wear whatever you want to wear, right? But not. So who put it into this complicated rule? Their attachment. Realize that nobody telling them, you have to wear this, this, this. They themselves doing. Why? Because of they attached to their reputation in their, in the social, right? In the public, their reputation. That's what they fear. People may say this thing. People may think this. So many issues. When the person free from attachment of all of these things, you release, right? So sometimes you have to go to the funeral, you have to wear a certain dress. Go to the, wedding, certain. Yeah, go to the office, certain dress. That's how you have to do it. Something become that. Then difficult. Sometimes they don't have these things. Then you have to borrow them, this. Then I was thinking, as a monk, we are very, very fortunate. You go to the funeral, or you go to the wedding ceremony, or you go to the just outside walk, same dress. Right? You don't care about anything. You have 2 pair of these things, you're enough for whole life. Right? You don't need to work. So it gives you why you are allowed, why not those people? It's just, that's how it is. The rule, they just make it by the attachment. Exactly the same how we circle in samsara. How we circle in this kind of complicated life. Nobody punished this attachment. It's the way to freedom is to get rid of this attachment. Then finish. You don't need to worry. You have full freedoms. So these kind of teaching things, you need to hear, think, investigate, right? Contemplate it. Then when you really understand, believe, put it into the practice, deal with your distracted emotion, that's how you will liberate from samsara, right? That's why in order to do that, this human life which we have today is one of the best life. Best life. Because this is the life you can think, you can investigate, you can do all kinds of things. But in order to do that, you also need to engage the Dharma. So, as a Buddhist, engaging with the Dharma is really, really fortunate. It's really opened the new world, new kind of happiness, new things. Otherwise, our attachments, our greeds, these are the destructive emotions, completely blind us, make ourselves, circle there, our own things. So the Dharma is the one open our mind. Therefore, as a practitioner, really important to study the Dharma, study these teachings, not just simple recite prayers, simple believing these things. These are very, very tiny, tiny things, small things. These are not really big. Big things are this information. We need to learn that. That's why the first, where the Togme Zangpo, yes, Geshe Togme Zangpo telling us you should appreciate your precious human life, that first stanza, and then study, think, hearing, listen, thinking, meditate. Through that, yourself, put it into the practice every day or night. Put it into the practice doesn't mean you have to stay in something, the shrine room or something. It doesn't mean that. You stay wherever you are. Your thinking is something differently. Majority of people is only think about the money and all kind of things. This life benefit. Your thinking is much deeper. Or not only that, it's my attachment, how danger, my anger, my destructive emotion, how much is hurting me. You're thinking this day or night, then you always try to combat, antidote to your destructive emotion. Through that, when you liberate from your destructive emotion, when you completely eliminate your destructive emotion, you are free, free from ocean of cycle existence, samsara. Then yourself also help to others. That's the practice of Bodhisattva, right? So I'm going to stop here now. Now we are in second stanza. Second, the actual stanza. Before these two are, one is homage and one is just what you call the promise in the teachings. But started from this stanza 1. Now the stanza 2, we're going to start next time. Okay, we're going to stop here now, and then finally conclusion. Whatever we accumulate merits through listening or thinking and meditating on these teachings. Meditate, sometimes people may think meditate means just sit and breathing or something. That's not only that. When your mind is exercising on each of these teachings, that's called also meditating, analytical meditation. So the merit we accumulate through study on these teachings, we should dedicate to benefit to entire sentient beings, right? So when we're reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, it's the mantra of compassion to all beings. There are 6-syllable mantras, right? This mantra is 6 syllables, which symbolize the 6 realms of beings, right? 6 realms of the beings. So you're dedicating your merit to entire beings from 6 realms, free from their ignorance, free from their destructive emotion, which creating all this suffering. I suffer because of that. Through my own experience, entire beings from 6 realms suffer because of this destructive emotion. So I dedicate my merit to them, free from all these destructive emotions, right? Through reciting the mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om And thus, honorable, compassionate gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic debts, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may without exception ripen upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. And thus, honorable, compassionate gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic debts, obstacles, and sufferings of mother beings may without exception ripen upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, and thereby invest all beings in bliss. Oi te ai nai chi ai chi lai mai tu chi che ai mai tu droi ve ti ai ti do nge ma lu da lai mi pa ta da ji ti ji shin la ta wa doi ku in de ta de I ba ji ki lo ya do ku de I ta de I ba ji ki lo chanjo semjo rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke ju ji ke ba nyam pa me pa yang kone kong to power show. May the precious and sublime bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline but increase forever. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I also forget to question answer sections. Next time now. Just let me know. If you have a question, just hand out. Okay, next time. I forget completely. But not coming Tuesday. I think this coming Tuesday there's somebody, the teacher, right? He will going to talk, but the next will start then. Okay, thank you.